actually had the Melford RCMP Traffic Services up in Candle Lake assisting us with some of our call volume, especially during the long weekends. But officer presence is always number one key for us. If they see us driving around, usually that keeps them at bay a little bit. That's what we hope. So that's been one of our main priorities on that. And yeah, and that's basically it for that. Do you guys have any questions for me on that front?
Are there any questions today? Yeah, I think we can all appreciate how much busier it is in the summer.
Yeah, and it's been a bit of an odd one with all the evacuations from the north. We definitely have seen increase in a lot of our thefts and property crimes because of that. We've had a lot of people from the northern communities either get relocated here or in the surrounding areas. So they either come and visit family or something like that, and then we end up arresting them for whatnot, and we find out they're from Pelican or they're from Sandy or Benair Beach or something. You know, all those areas that are just kind of all moving down. So it's definitely been an interesting summer for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for the work you guys are doing.
And do you want a copy of this, or do you guys?
We have our copy.
Yeah.
Yes. So thanks again.
No problem. Have a good day, guys.
You too.
Any questions amongst ourselves? Okay, all those in favor? It's carried. That the financial statements for the period ending June 30th, 2025 be approved as presented. Councilor Watts. Do we have any questions or comments?
I just have a question. I noticed that there is 16,000 on the budgeted area for the RM of Nipwin for the leisure component of the financial statements. Is that the 16,000 that they are disagreeing with in paying, so we're not gonna see that this year? Was there any effect on the pricing of the registrations for pools and other facilities due to receiving that 16,000, if we would have received it? Since
No, the rates and fees were set last year and
based,
they were just a percentage increase from the
Okay.
year before. It wasn't, of course, we were counting on the $16,000, but the fees weren't set to March.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. That the financial reports for August 11th, 2025 be approved as presented. And do we have any questions on the financial report? Anybody at all? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. That the reports of senior administrative officials reported as items 9.1 to 9.2.10 be received and filed. Councilor Blair. All those in favor? That's carried. That the department monthly reports be received and filed. Councilor Dick. And with that, we'll start with corporate services and Maria.
Sure. I don't have really too much to report. July has been busy just closing off assessment roll and adjustments for taxes. Of the 6 assessment appeals that were submitted, we actually had none going to hearing, so that was, I thought, kind of good news. We had an agreement to adjust for 3 of them, and the other 3 were withdrawn, so made it a little bit easier as far as procedure goes. And aside from that, there's really nothing else to report.
Thank you. Any questions for Maria today?
The unpaid taxes, sorry, for July, 1.6 million, is that comparable to the previous year?
I could get the comparison for you if believe it would be quite comparable. Generally speaking, when I do comparisons for other months, it is, you know, within a matter of $20,000 to $50,000, give or take. So I just don't know for certain at this point.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Maria. Next up, we'll go to operations and engineering, and Jamie.
I really don't have anything else to add to it. If anybody has any questions.
Questions, comments for Jamie? I know he's working hard on getting that landfill going. Almost done.
Almost.
Alright, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, no problem.
Next up is our fire department, and Paul.
Well, obviously, sadly, Sharps, big thing there, two big giant, calls, 149 and 150. I can go into details, later on call number 150, there's some stuff in there I probably shouldn't be doing, we should do that in camera. But yeah, needless to say, pretty disheartening to see. Other than that, again, still very, very busy. We're definitely en route to probably having a record-breaking year, I think, for the entire year. We've already surpassed 2022's numbers. We'll be closing in on 2023 by the end of the month, and I would expect 2024 probably in another month's time, so. Busy.
Very much so. Any questions or comments on the fire report, Joyce?
The Evergreen Center, cause that was around 500 Sharps, is that in a certain location of the Evergreen or overall?
They were actually all in one vehicle.
A vehicle,
Yes, ma'am.
was the vehicle staying there?
The vehicle was there. It was abandoned. It was lost in translation because the Evergreen staff believed that the RCMP were towing it away when it was reported, and it had kind of slipped through the cracks. So once they found it again, and Leisure Services was checking the vehicle once it got broken into, that's when I got called and I had the RCMP come down and we towed it with bylaw the following day.
Any other questions or comments?
Not a question, just a comment. I just want to commend you, Paul, for all your hard work. I know you've been working endless hours, day and night. I see you out in the mornings, Sunday mornings, which I'm not up that often, but I do see you out, and I can tell you take this very seriously, and I just, from myself and people in the community, I just want to commend you for, and Luke, for all your guys' hard work with this. It's not an easy job.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Bradley. Okay. We'll move on to our protective services, and Paul.
I guess very similar. We just get to throw dogs and cats in there too. A number of encampments were removed last month. A lot of work with SCAN has been done. We have had some victories. I know council's aware of some of them. We have a few more that I can report on here in the next coming weeks. I will say again, much to following Kylie's comments, Luke has been doing a really excellent job on the bylaw front. It's tough sometimes triaging, for lack of a better word, when we get complaints about grass and stuff like that, and then dealing with drug problems and all the other things. It's tough trying to figure out the priorities, and Luke's still really good at taking care of all of them and making people feel that, you know, you call in about your neighbor having long grass and he doesn't make you feel that, well, it's a spurious complaint or anything like that. It's you know, we'll deal with that, and he's able to deal with those kinds of things really well. So it's slowly but surely chipping away. I do have to give him a bit of a poke though. He did make the comment around mid-July that we hadn't removed very many tents. That afternoon we started getting all the calls in from tents and encampments and stuff like that, and it's just fallen off the last couple of weeks now. So
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any questions on this report? Community Services, and Derek.
I don't really have much to add. I did have fraud on the credit card again. And I talked to the Royal Bank and they said it's from an IP address. So we narrowed it down to the day the fraud happened, after which IP address the computer was used from. So we've had SaskTel since clean Holly's computer and go through it, and RBC figures that should fix it, because it's usually tracked through IP addresses, not Facebook accounts and stuff like I'd first thought it was. So hopefully it's all cleaned up. There was none on the last statement, and the statement prior had $60 or something, and they just removed it because they knew right away or whatever. But
Any questions or comments for Derek? All right. Thank you, Derek. If there's no questions or comments, all those in favor? That's carried. That council hereby approves cancellation of $2,078.64 of 2025 property taxes, representing the taxes from April 1st to December 31st, 2025 for Lot 3, Block 9, Plan CC 7025, and Lot 8, Block 2, Plan BB 4094, as recommended by the GM of Corporate Services, as the town of Nipawin acquired titles to the properties due to tax enforcement proceedings on March 31st, 2025. The breakdown of the canceled taxes is $1,959.50 for the municipal portion and $119.14 for the education property tax. Councillor Stewart. Have any questions for Maria on this one?
I just have a question, not about the tax part, but the properties. What is the plan for these now? If we attain title on March 31st and it's now August, like, what are we planning to do with these two pieces of property?
One property has a house that requires demolition.
Okay.
So an RFT will be issued, or will be issued. I don't think it got happened today, but it will be issued. And then within 1 year, the properties have to be advertised for sale in accordance with legislation.
Okay.
There's nothing we can really do other than maintain them until we advertise them for sale. And if they sell, great, then they're sold. If not, then they become part of our holdings.
Okay.
Any other questions on this one? All those in favor? That's carried. That council hereby authorizes the out-of-scope payroll officer position to be moved from grade 02 to grade 01 on the out-of-scope salary grid as recommended by the GM of Corporate Services. Councillor Stewart. And yeah,
I'll just speak to part of it, and so the second part, you'll see that the resolution that came tonight differs slightly from the report. We had discussed the admin support position out front with the union, and we were of the understanding that it was, they understood, agreed, and then we had a request late this afternoon for additional discussion. So we thought we would pull that right now until we could determine what their request was, what their discussion is, and then we'll bring that part back at a further meeting. And then if Maria would like to explain the HR position.
Sure. The report kind of just states it the way it is. Just as the position is vacant, and we'll be filling it, I was just hoping to move it down to a grade 01, mostly because of the criteria for having out-of-scope positions at a higher grade generally comes into play with having staff underneath them that they are responsible for, having direct reports to them. there is nothing for that position. And, just the fact that we have not ever been able to acquire an educated HR person, that just changes the pay scope. So it's just a matter of adjusting and hoping to save the ratepayer a little bit of money.
Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll start with Joyce.
I'm trying to remember some time ago, wasn't the payroll done from an in-scope administration person before?
Yes, it was.
And when we were on council some time ago, we had talked about the HR position was to also be mainly, to help with the financial administration more than HR, and from what I saw, what happened, it became more of an HR position. So I'm actually really questioning whether the payroll could just be an in-scope and replace it with this administrative AR, payroll / administrative assistant and be in scope, and the HR part is, I don't think it was really intended to have just one person, and I really don't know if it's really required between the in-scope people being able to go to union leaders, and then the HR is still using the department heads to bring forth their complaints. So I don't know if there was a lot of need for an HR, but you guys would know that more than I would.
Well,
I'm just making a comment.
we did discuss it as the senior management team that we do, the department heads do, or they do the majority of the HR now in their own departments. Like Jamie does HR for Public Works Utilities, Maria looks after HR for her department. Really the payroll position does the clerical portion of the HR. There's nothing with the complaints or concerns or any of that goes to the supervisor. From the supervisor it goes to the GM.
DM to you.
Okay, does that answer your?
Well, sorry, but I do know that there was a binder that was produced some time ago for job descriptions and what each job, not necessarily tied to a person. I think that was the big thing, was to make sure the person's name wasn't part of the binder, and you have this job and this is what they do. And is that being maintained by the HR person? Is there ongoing work that's in there, or was it created and just put on the shelf? Because I'm seeing it was probably a great idea at one time, nothing done after, and that's why it became more of a clerical position.
Yes, I'm not aware of the binder. I know we have job descriptions for each of the positions.
Do you remember the binder?
No, I got lots of comments.
Okay,
Yep.
anyways, that's all I have to say.
Jeff?
And yeah, the comments are similar to what Joyce was actually saying. I remember this position when we first started it. It was actually used to be in the corporate services director, and it kind of went to relieve some of the pressure off of that particular job. We ended up with the HR person. The HR was not HR general. It was almost more fitting to be a benefits officer. Was the original thought of that job, and I think this through the turmoil. I won't go into turmoil, but it became a little bit more than that. As long as our staff have a direct way of being able to talk with their directors, either in scope or out of scope, and then upwards towards you, then I don't know if we have a necessity for a specific HR officer that's built into the other systems. So basically, to echo what she already said. So.
And we always, going up the org chart, employees have the option to speak to their supervisor, their direct supervisor. Beyond that, if they don't get results or don't feel that they've been heard, there you have the opportunity to to approach the GM. And if that doesn't work, my door has always been open for the last 2 years. I've had people from all departments come into my office, have concerns, questions, and it's always been very open that my door is open at the very least, and right from skilled, non-skilled, or semi-skilled, everybody is more than welcome to come and talk to me at any time.
Well, but we have an HR policy, don't we? Right, that was on the books for one time.
We have a number of HR policies, yeah.
That kinda dictate the exact processes that,
We have harassment policies,
Yep.
and we have violence policies, and we have all of that.
and the ability to, escalate up and to complain of, right, those should all be those should already
That's right.
all be written and be followed, just making sure the staff are aware of it, right?
Yeah, and they
That
also,
that's the proper way to do it.
and they also have the ability to go to their union,
Yep.
to the shop
In-scope.
steward, and
For the in-school.
For the in-scope.
that's right, for the
Yeah.
in-scope people, yes.
Yeah, so, okay, that's fine, yeah, I remember this job, and I think you did a better job than I did explaining it, but it was never really meant for that, it was more meant for, benefits, as I remember, but,
And helping with month-end,
Yep.
reports, because we weren't getting timely reports, so we recognized that the finance end of it was having some struggles. So it did become more of a surprise that it ended up being an HR and doing all this extra work that I'm not really sure if it was necessary.
And
I know job descriptions was necessary because they didn't have them before.
I know that Maria has done that position. She did it for nearly a year, and she's confident that with the right individual, with the right training, they can do more than just payroll. There will be an opportunity to assist with other duties as well.
okay. So there would be an adjustment to the job description then?
Yeah, I'll say jobs.
Can I just speak to that?
Sure.
Our prior employee did an amazing job. I have no complaints. I don't know that the job description so much would be changed. But the job is very clerical when it comes to HR. There is administering the benefits. It does take a lot of time. There is, like, as far as, once payroll's done and people get paid, the job just doesn't end there. There is, you're administering the pension plan, you're doing union reports, you're, preparing remittances, there's tracking to do, right? Like, it is a busy position, and so the HR component, I guess maybe where I wasn't clear in my report is that we have never had an educated HR person with a degree in the position. And it was my understanding that originally that's what the program, or that's what the position required. And I do believe that the first person in that role was going to school while employed here to try and get that education.
And I can say our previous payroll officer that just left now, she did an amazing job. She was wonderful in the position.
Stacy?
I'm totally on the other side of it. I believe that we do need a HR position, I also believe that the HR position should be by itself, so that any person can come and see them without them being under an umbrella of anyone else. To me, it's all about independence, it's all about being able to just go and see this person. I believe that maybe we don't need one that's full-time, maybe we need something that's contracted. But I believe that there's a necessity, that there's a real need for it. Because, yeah, I just do, because this is an organization that's bigger than 10. Simple as that. And if you check any other organizations, I'd imagine if you went to Tisdale or Melford or somewhere, they're gonna have some sort of HR person in place.
Okay.
Education, well,
Yeah, I don't know, that's based on what you're being paid, right? And what the job requires. You don't necessarily need to have an HR degree to do HR, but you do need to train, absolutely.
I don't
You need
believe-
to know payroll and everything else that goes for benefits. But I agree with you, if you are going to have an HR, it needs to be independent. It shouldn't fall under anybody else. And then they have a solid line with the CAO.
Agreed, I believe it's necessary.
I'm just gonna go over to Kylie first.
I agree with Stacy in that regard. I've done a lot of research since we got this, and everything that I'm finding under the Municipalities Act of Governance is as soon as there's over 10 employees, there should be an HR person involved, and they should not fall under anybody but the CEO or the CAO. Where right now that's different. This HR is under a GM. And my whole thing is coming from management of 18 years of experience. When there's a chain of commands, staff go to their GM, which then go to a district manager or a CAO. Now, if those staff, if they don't feel comfortable or confident, an HR person is a completely, they're non-biased opinion, they're a third party that has nothing to do with any particular department, that is their safety net, form of confidentiality that they can go to, that is a direct response to the CAO. Then the CAO is the one who then can make decisions based on everybody else, because the CAO has all the GMs under them. I think it's extremely important to have somebody that every single employee at the town of Nipawin feels that they have a safe net to go to, that is confidential, that their concerns are being validated without feeling like they're stepping on anybody's toes. And I think the only way to do that is have a particular person, and I don't think it's a bad idea to have somebody that's essentially not directly in the building. Sometimes having somebody come in, whether it's once a week, that it is still accessible by phone or email, I think the staff need that. And the other thing, slightly out of the HR thing, but with the grading and the pay, Maria, you said like we've never had an educated staff for the HR position, which is why you want to change the grade. But in the next reports, you have your pay scale thing too. Can we get a copy, or is there a way to find out where everybody is sitting at? Like, is everybody that is in these paid positions, is everybody else educated for their position? Because I feel we're targeting this HR position as never being educated. But is everybody sitting here educated for their paid position? I don't think we should be targeting just that and changing the pay grade when we're not changing the pay grade for other people who maybe aren't educated in their department.
Do you wanna add to that first, or do we wanna go over to?
I can speak to the education part, and that, like as Maria mentioned, it was more the supervision of the staff. The HR person has no direct employees, they have no direct staff, which is the largest reason behind it. It wasn't the education piece, that was part of it,
Okay.
absolutely, but the more of it was, they have no direct reports.
Okay. It's just when it was worded with the education, I feel it's targeting that one position
Yeah,
a little
no,
bit.
it's absolutely not targeting
Okay.
one position.
And if I can
It's-
add to that, where that came from is that in the original job description, it was required that an HR degree was necessary. So that's where that comment came from. It really
Okay.
was just innocently put in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of money to have Bloom look at this organizational structure, a lot, right? And there's a lot of headache to be able to do this. So anything we do, whether HR, maybe we just need a payroll officer and then a separate HR, because it kind of, if you're looking for an educated person, they're gonna be very different than someone who's gonna do for just payroll, right? It's not just payroll, I understand that there's a lot to do with payroll and benefits officer, but HR, that's an entirely different, if you're going for a true HR style position. So that would actually make a change in the organizational structure itself, which we can do, right? But that is also on council's prerogative to do, to be able to change it all. But there was rationale for everything that we've done in here, in that entire Bloom report, which I would recommend you guys read, right? Because it's all in there, right? it's all there, right? It's all there in detail. But if this particular position is, cause it's not really working, maybe we can go ahead and split it, right? Cause that might be what needs to happen.
Put it in scope payroll.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Well, and maybe an in-scope payroll could also be part of the front-end and mid-staff, which would maybe appease some of that problem too, right?
And then what Stacy brought up was a third party or a contracted person for HR might, because I don't think is there enough work here for a full-time HR, or is it more of a part-time contracted work, right? But at least that way you'd be able to get your third party, right,
Mhm.
someone who's outside the organization doing some of that HR, right? But that could also lead to all sorts of different issues, right, when it comes to that, right?
Absolutely.
Cause now we're looking at someone from an external source to do something as important as HR. So it's touchy, right? But,
Yeah, I don't think there's really the ability to make a decision on this,
Mhm.
is what I guess I'm
I
thinking.
agree.
So you don't, you don't think we could move the payroll officer position grade?
Well, if you're talking in scope, it's gonna be as the union contract, not the other bit.
but we're talking about the HR
And you
payroll.
would have to also check with the union to confirm that that's acceptable to bring it back. And then there's also other concerns, I don't know who's doing, accounts receivable, who's doing accounts payable, who's doing payroll, who's doing the bank reconciliation, is there separation of duties
Yeah,
when you look
that's-
at that? So there's more to the planning than just say, hey, let's do a motion, is what I think.
Would council be okay with a special meeting so that we can get the payroll position advertised? Because as it's happening now, it falls on Maria to do the payroll. If you'd be okay with a special meeting, once we do a little more.
Maybe on the side
Like we talk with the union and
That sounds like a good idea.
Well, I think it's the only idea.
Okay.
So, because, HR and payroll, like, I get why we put them together, save money and everything, but the reality is that there might be better separate,
Yep.
and that's the case.
And I think the payroll officer in scope position functioned very well.
It is.
Like from, I wasn't here, but from what I hear, it sounded as though that was a well-functioning role.
Yeah, it's hearing issues with it, like, that's why I was surprised when it switched.
Actually, Maria was the first payroll out of scope. Payroll was always in scope until Maria took that position.
And then for HR, I guess there's lots of different options that administration could bring us forward if that's what we want to do.
If council would be okay, we could do a resolution to move the payroll position in scope pending discussion with the union.
That would work.
We could do that and then we could advertise, I mean, it'll take a couple weeks to advertise and then interview and train and it would be really helpful if we could.
And so that payroll person would also look after the benefits and that kind of thing, making sure that they're paid and people are registered and that's part of their role,
Maybe
right?
the clerical aspect of it,
Yeah.
right?
We'd have to change the job description for that one as well.
Yes, we would definitely do that.
And then what would happen to HR?
That's what I was just gonna ask, we're
That's-
still gonna be up for discussion.
We could do some investigating and present options for HR.
It's not
Yeah.
abolishing that position, we're just splitting one of it and,
Yeah.
but we're not
Yes.
getting rid of the HR
Not getting rid
position,
of
it's still on the table for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
as
And
long
then
as that,
We could
That's
bring
kind
out
of
some,
what I was saying here all along is that, well, not all along, but this last little rant, was the payroll and the HR obviously are not working as a combined, right? They really aren't, because, we've had problems with HR and finding someone for that position, and if you're gonna put them down to grade, one, you're
Mhm.
or to, in that pay range.
Yeah.
Go higher.
And some of the past issues that happened was because really HR should have been involved in that decision
Exactly.
making. And it would have been outside of the directors and everything else.
Exactly.
Like, can you put somebody who's coming back from maternity leave down a grade? No, you can't. And that's what an HR person should be doing.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And that has to be done at an upper level.
Mhm.
So it sounds like we can potentially make a quick change to this resolution for tonight, so that we can get the payroll position
And then
switched up, right? I'm gonna get you to write that up. Thank you, Michelle.
and then, yeah.
And then I'll read it out and I'll make sure Jeff is okay with it.
And then with this, like, we're looking for one resolution for 3 different reports. Like, this out of scope salary grid,
Sorry,
if-
it's not approved.
it's already been approved.
Oh,
Yeah, those are just included there for informational purposes to help make the decision, so we understand how the structure is currently
Okay.
and what the salary
And
grid
the
is.
organizational charts are already approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But if you wanna reopen them, that, we can do that.
Well,
No,
that's where, if you're doing an HR, you're gonna be looking at
Mhm.
a different organizational chart.
And then job descriptions have to change, organizational chart has to change, there's all that stuff. It'll be quite a bit of work to be able to get it, but if that gets HR a separate island, that's, I hear from other counselors, that's what they like, and I don't disagree with it.
I just-
I believe
I
that's the way
think
it should
it's
be.
Then-
extremely
then let's do
important
it.
and a big, when you're dealing with this many staff, it is their safe place where they can go, right? And I do think it's important in a big structure, you need an HR person.
Yeah, and then we need processes that show this is where you go.
Yeah.
And making sure
Absolutely.
that that's
Yeah.
right, they're there, but we could also redefine, those processes will have to be
Exactly.
looked at again. So it has a trickle down effect of a lot
Yeah,
of,
all the policies.
there's a lot that will have to change.
So right now, the HR person isn't accountable, we don't, like that HR person should be accountable to somebody as well, so we really
CEO.
don't,
CAO said that,
but we don't have an HR person.
Don't worry
So
about
that's
it,
what
Right
we're-
now, we don't.
that's what
They
we're
have an
gonna be
HR.
looking to get.
Payroll person, we got this saying that they want to bring it down to level 1, well, that's not really an HR grade pay for doing HR work. So, split the two, and we could say we can get a third party contractor, go with the in-house, I don't know, there's a lot of different options, but administration can come up with options for that. Give them-
So now, cause there isn't an HR person, that becomes the CEO.
I guess that was kind of my.
Yeah, I
question.
thought that's what
Yeah.
we're getting at.
Around the board. Yeah. Falls on.
See if that's, I don't write, or
Okay.
see if that's acceptable.
Okay, so here's the new resolution. That the payroll and human resources position be split, with the payroll officer position being moved in scope pending discussion with the union. And that administration be directed to investigate options for a human resources position and present a recommendation to council.
Sounds good.
Jeff, you made the move, you're happy with that?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Any other questions now that we've got a new resolution? Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. That council hereby agrees to enter into a 3-year fixed rate agreement for the supply of natural gas at a rate of $3.574 per gigajoule with ECNG Energy Group, as recommended by the GM of Corporate Services. Councilor Pappas, thank you. And, Maria, do you have anything to add here?
The report pretty much gives you all the information that you need. I guess what I'm looking for council to authorize is whether we go into a 1-year agreement or a 3-year. In the past, looking back at what has been done, it's either been very standard to do a 1-year renewal or a 3-year renewal. And it's, I criteria was there for whether we did a 1 year or a 3 year, but that's, in the past, that's what I've been able to find.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? A little bit of a difference in the pricing, obviously, but. Jeff?
I think that the whole world's in turmoil, and I think the 1 year agreement is better. We don't know, we lock ourselves into a 3 year agreement, good chance we're gonna end up losing it. 1 year, you know, you could easily opt out and go a different route.
And if I can add, there is a caveat within that, that if the market falls, the price is adjusted.
But if it goes up, it goes up.
No, this is a
After
fixed
the,
rate.
after your term is done, it will go up. So then when you have a 1 year, you're gonna be paying the, what the.
Whatever the new market rate is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after the year is done. And yes, the world is in turmoil, and I would say, I'm just hedging here, but I think the price of gas is gonna go up more
Yeah,
than
I
it's
don't-
gonna go down.
I don't think we're gonna see a
Agreed.
reduction.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
I think
don't
that
see it fall.
a 3 year agreement is probably not a bad idea.
Well,
That's my personal thoughts. I think it's gonna get more expensive as federal governments
I think taxation will change, so.
make changes.
Yeah, well, I was looking at an Alberta power and energy bill, and we have nothing to worry about here compared to Alberta, and it's tremendously a difference,
Yeah.
more than twice the amount.
Yeah.
Agreed. And it's not public, it's private.
That's right. And I did live in Alberta when that happened, and it made a big difference on what you were paying for your utilities. Extreme. Ralph had to give out some bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a split. Any other thoughts from the rest of the council on a term limit?
My argument is that the gas will go up, but the taxes will go down. Right? Carbon taxes eventually I think will go down, I think that there's gonna be a change in that area, but that's why I was thinking 1 year safer compared to 3, but I'm okay
Well,
with it.
there's no carbon tax as of now.
As of right now.
Yeah. Right?
And the-
There's no
Yeah, so
carbon
it
tax
can't go
included
down.
in those rates.
No, that,
No?
that's, and that would be billed out to us by Sask Energy. This is just for the actual supply of natural gas.
So that
Okay.
could, either go up or down depending.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm saying to go down.
And this
No.
is a
Yeah.
3 year.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
let's be an optimistic, sure, yeah.
Well, here's, let's find something.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions, again, we're gonna enter into a 3 year term. All those in favor? That's carried. The council hereby authorizes Covenant Construction Inc. to complete additional asphalt repair on the Nipwood runway rehabilitation project for the quoted amount of $106,000 plus GST, pending approval of the scope of work change from the CAP funding program, as recommended by the GM of Operations and Engineering Services, with funds to come from GL account Airport Capital, number 431340820, and that council also authorizes Covenant Construction Inc. to complete the asphalt repairs from the Evergreen Service Loop project for the quoted amount of $46,110 plus GST, with funds to come from GL account Capital Utilities Sewer, number 471820820. Councilor Blair. I'll turn it over to Jamie.
So I'll break this into two parts. First of all, we'll go with the additional asphalt work at the runway at the airport. So we have $320,000 that we were going to spend in this project. 160 of it is cap funding, so it's 50 cent dollars. The project that they're gonna be coming and starting the beginning of September is for $199,663.18 plus GST. And, there was a 15% contingency built into that pricing as well. So I would like to try to spend as much as I possibly can when it comes to funding and 50-cent dollars. So I think that this additional work would be something that would benefit us extremely. So I have to wait, of course, I've been waiting for, with all the holidays people take in the summer, I've been waiting for their approval, but she didn't seem like there'd be an issue with the approval, so I just wanted to run this in front of council so that, if I get your approval and then cap funding's approval, we can just go ahead with this. But there's no additional funds, this is already built into the 2025 budget. Now part two is the asphalt for the Evergreen Service Loop. Again, I put a contingency in there in that project. This will be covered under that, so this is no additional funds. There are the funds that are already there. I wanted to wait to get this part done because whoever did get the airport RFP, I could try to convince, since you guys are in town, can you do this additional work for us as well to save a few bucks, right? So that's where I got this quoted amount. I did receive a quote from another asphalt company and they quoted me $65,000 to do that work down at the Evergreen Drive in Pine. So yeah, so with that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yep.
Any questions or comments? Okay, and yeah, this is just if the cap funding doesn't get approved, the scope
then
change, then this just doesn't happen.
Yeah, then we just have $200,000 worth of work done at the landfill, or I mean at the airport.
Perfect. All right, all those in favor? That's carried. That council hereby agrees to stockpile used asphalt shingles at the landfill to allow the RM of Nipawin to repurpose the material for road dust suppression for a trial period of 1 year as recommended by the GM of Operations and Engineering Services, and that the project be reevaluated at the end of the trial period. Councilor Newell. And Jamie, I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, so the CAO and I met with the arm of Nipawin. They asked us if it was possible for us to stockpile all of our shingles at the landfill so that they could process this material for their roads, for dust control. And I feel that we have the room out there to do this. I feel that it saves on our pit all these shingles going into the pit, and I think we should try it for a year. And of course they're going to be bringing in the contractor, paying them to do all the work. It won't be it won't cost the town anything to do this. So I think it's just a win-win for both communities.
Any questions or comments? Kylie?
I guess the only thing is if we're stockpiling these shingles for the RM to be able to use and they're not going into the landfill, is the price to be able to dump them going to be the same for the contractor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's gonna be no reduction on that.
You're still paneling out there too, something else.
Yeah.
Just providing the location.
Pardon?
Just providing the
We're
location.
just providing the location, yeah.
Will there be any like formal agreement so that, you know, they can't change their mind if the pile is there, you know, like can we hold them to it and make sure that, I don't know if there's like when the pile gets this big, then they have to process it, or if there's anything like that we should consider. And also, I don't know just if there's any implications on our permit at the landfill, how we should reverse that.
Well, they're storing the material, they're using the material other places to do it, so I will let the government know that we're doing this. It's either that or goes into the pit, it's on the land regardless. I do agree with, an agreement,
Absolutely.
because I just don't wanna stockpile a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden, they say, okay, we're not doing this, and then now I've got all that cleanup to get it to the pit. So I agree with that, and, they can, I don't think we're gonna produce in a year's time enough shingles in this community to actually process, 4 days worth. But I don't know, I know very little about it, so, yeah.
We'll drop it to an agreement.
I'm just wondering if there's a requirement on the quality of shingles to do the dust control, or does it matter?
No, it doesn't, as far as what I'm hearing, no, it's all asphalt shingles.
Joyce?
And from what I heard, it was just a conversation at coffee time, somebody had mentioned about how the RN is just using the shingles right now on that stretch just going west of Cadet as a trial for now, and then to see how it goes. So that's where the agreement might come into play, so that you don't overstock, I guess. Underestimate how much the cell is gonna hold. That would be the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
What about, being able to work with the contractors and how clean the shingles are when they come in? Does any of that matter?
As far as I'm aware with the pamphlets and everything, it just comes in, just like off the roof, right? It's clean, there's no dirt mixed in with it or anything
I'm
like that.
thinking more like wood materials and stuff like, some of the
Nails,
contractors
nails.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
but
nails.
they take, that's what, they make enough money off of just the nails and stuff during that, like, they make money off just for scrap. That's what, that lady informed us as well. The CAO.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's that part.
The nails and wood are separated from the shingles.
Mhm.
Cause that was my first concern. Yeah, it's supposed to be separated.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Keeps it out of the landfill.
Oh, yeah,
And-
anything that can be reused, yeah.
And they're finding a lot of small communities, I've got a friend near Regina, and all the small communities around Regina won't even accept shingles. They all have to truck them into the cities and stuff, so people are recognizing that shingles are filling up the landfill in a hurry. So, one more way to reuse something. Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. The council hereby authorizes administration to provide a counter offer in the amount of $9,900 to the $5,000 offer to purchase the property located at 804 10th Avenue West as recommended by the GM of Community Services. Councilor Watts. Derek, anything to add here?
I think the report pretty well sums it up. The guy wants to move in a house that's been approved, but by the building inspector and the land planner with the quotes that, or the specs that come with moving in a building. He offered 5,000, 9,900 is pretty close to what it would be if you built a new house, and the incentives is where I went from. I was trying not to devalue the land. With that being said, I don't think that 5,000 is a terrible idea, because we've been maintaining this lot for 12 years at minimum. That's when we took over title. So either way, I think that different scenarios call for different places and the location of the lot. I don't know if it's if the $4,000 would be a huge difference to have an automatic tax pay on it, but I also don't want to devalue the rest of the area or anywhere else. So that's where my recommendation came from.
Thank you, Derek. Any questions?
There's just like no lot plan or site plan, like how big is this lot?
It's a tiny lot right behind the old Shell station.
I know like where it is located, but it's just
It's
like a small.
it's a standard lot.
Just your standard
Yeah.
lot. It's hard to know there because it's kind of like all open. So I didn't know.
Yeah,
exactly
it's a 50 by 150, and there's a neighbor beside it, and the alleyway running there behind the Kingfisher alleyway there.
by the fence there, where there used
Yeah.
to be an old gas station in between, right?
Yeah. It's the first lot, I guess, on that corner,
Okay.
cause,
I think the 9,900 does give the rationale, like that's half price basically, right?
Mhm.
From the 18,000, so you have to justify that for all taxpayers. And it is taking into account any reimbursements and tax incentives.
yeah, that was for the lost incentives is what I figured, and that was his rationale behind the 5,000, cause he wasn't eligible for the incentives, so.
Yeah, if the incentives would have put it closer to that $9,000 or whatever, then that makes sense to be at 99. So. Any other questions or comments?
I just think because it's listed on
Oh, yeah.
Les?
Will he be living in this home, or will this be for rent, or will it be?
I'm thinking he's renting it, but I don't know for sure, cause I believe he's from Alberta. Just from the and that's 100% just from the address on a sale offer, the offer sheet.
So there won't be any incentives at either price, or there will be with one of them?
No, he's not eligible for the incentives
Okay,
at
so
all,
either way.
so that was why the reduction
has to
in
be
the
a
price.
brand new build,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And then I went to the 9,900 cause full incentives would be 8,600, but because it's not new, I took the $1,000 basically, another 25%.
Let's deal with so much.
I'm all for filling these info lots, truthfully, and I look at, if he's offering $5,000, this is not a desirable lot or location, truthfully. It's been with the town for 12 years. If they put a structure on there, within 4 years, we're at 9,900, what we would have won, and every year after that, we're at a gain, where if we offer this and he denies it, we're now still at nothing and continuing to have to maintain this lot. So, myself, I would be okay with that just because of the location. It's not an ideal location at all. And I don't think it's one that would, like, I'd be okay even with the 5, but I also would be okay with the 99. Just because I know at 5 it's gonna happen and there's gonna be development and we're gonna start seeing something and not having to maintain. We got a lot of infill lots. And I'm all about just growing and developing. Eventually the town is gonna be sitting in a better financial position by getting rid of this property than if we try. But either way, whatever other council is okay with, I agree.
Any other comments, Stacy?
Well, question is all our infill lots are $19,000, are they?
They're listed high with the
They
realtor,
are.
yeah.
The majority of them,
Somewhere around 20.
run around that between 15 and 24, I think.
Mhm.
Cause you're taking into account if they build something new, there's incentives, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting it's roughly $10,000 cash back on the incentives, so.
And the other way is to say that the lots are $10,000, but no incentives for building.
And
That would
that's,
be the only thing.
Also, this one isn't listed through the realtor, correct? So there's no
Yeah, it
realtor
is.
fees on top?
No,
This one
it
is,
is.
so we have to consider that plus the minus we're losing realtor fees, is that correct?
Yeah, and that's yeah.
Okay, so that's something to take into account.
I can't remember what the minimal amount is, but it would hit the minimal amount for realtor fees. I don't remember off the top of my head, $1,000 I think.
5,000 plus the
So it'd be a $4,000 lot, ultimately.
or include the realtor fees on top of $5,000. So it'd be 6.
Oh, you mean go back with that, sorry.
Go back with 6. But as Kylie mentioned, if we lose this, then we're maintaining a lot that's getting us money from the top.
Like the average taxable home in the Flint, even the smallest one is $2,000 a year, right? Within 2.5 years.
Yeah.
We got what, Derek is recommending, we're already at that. And then every year after that, now we're profiting for the next 12 years, right? Where the next 12 years, we could be still sitting at the same. Just because of the location, this isn't an ideal lot
No.
that I think is going to be a,
And drive much attention.
exactly, that's where I'm going with it.
Joyce?
Is there a requirement that there has to be a home on it in such and such?
In less than 2 years, 2 years or less. Yep. And he has it ready to move. like it's on,
Oh.
it's
okay.
on blocks. The house that he's planning on moving is on the blocking already. I don't know
So this will be a
where.
taxable structure fairly quickly, as
Yeah.
soon as he's got it on there, and it's a taxable structure immediately.
Mhm.
And the lot's taxable the minute it takes over now because there's no incentive leeway.
Mhm.
So the base tax is immediate.
Mhm.
Les?
So are we saying to the public then that our lots are worth $5,000, all our infill lots?
I'm saying this
this-
one is,
this-
has a
This one, 'cause it
location,
isn't desirable.
this is not in a
Yeah,
big
but
location.
you can come back and say that about anything.
Mhm.
That's the
Well-
thing, when you're making a decision, you have to, it has to be a fair decision that affects all taxpayers the same. So, any lot on that street, you could say, is not worth $18,000.
It's not maybe desirable to me or to you, but it's gonna be desirable to somebody at $5,000.
Yeah,
That's what I paid when I bought my lot when I moved to town.
I was gonna say, I remember when I moved here, they were around 5 to 7.
yeah.
No incentives, $5,000.
Mine was one sold for 4,000, right next door is 24.
Mhm.
Makes sense out of that. And the next
So-
one's 24, and the next two were 4.
Mhm.
The other comparable we used is there was a lot that just sold through tax enforcement for 9,600 on Fourth Street North, I believe. So that was kind of my comparison with for the other reasoning behind the 9,600 with the incentives.
I see both sides of this, but I would be hesitant to accept that $5,000 offer, as I would lean more towards the higher offer or somewhere in the middle. If your lot was $5,000 when you moved here, you know, we have to assume that there's been some growth.
Exactly.
And to Les's point too, I would be concerned that then all of a sudden we're just gonna get these lowball offers because we accepted this one, so. But I do see the value of putting a home on it.
Our infill lots aren't really, any of them are very, not really that desirable. They're not up on Property Hill, there's nothing special about them. I'm leaning toward if we can make some revenue off these, if we did, and someone came back with $5,000 for another lot and they wanted to build a house and we got taxes for it, have at it.
We just have to.
Because we're not maintaining this lot, and it's not a deficit, it's going to make some money at some point.
So then my question would be, do we look at all the infill lots and bring them down to a reasonable price?
Well, this is where I went with my example of 4,000, 24,000, 24,000, 4,000, 4,000. Where's the reasoning in that?
Are they private sales?
No, they're sold by the town, they're in my area.
Yeah, that's
So-
what I mean. If
so-
you're all over the place with your selling amounts, is it fair to all taxpayers? And when you're making decisions, that's what we collect, is taxes, right?
Right.
So those taxes, anytime you're dealing with taxes, there has to be a tax variance for every potential taxpayer. So if you're gonna say that this is 5,000, then the other one's gonna be 5,000 as well. Not 4, 4, 24, and 4,
And
right?
that's where I went.
Yep.
So that's where I'm trying to figure out the reasoning on that. This as an example. So,
I think we should sell it for 9,900. I think we have the argument that it was listed at 18,000, and I think without the incentives, which would have been about 9,600, that puts us right around that 9,900. So we have the argument that we can argue to the people why we sold this thing for $9,900. It doesn't set precedent unless somebody else is coming in to move in a house and they won't get any tax incentives. In that case, come and deal directly with council, and we'll probably be able to work with you. Because yeah, we do have to argue where the money's going and how we're getting to that number. It's not just being pulled out of a hat. I think Derek's done a good job of showing that, you know, it's without the incentives, we're gonna be able to tax this on day one. I think 9,900 is fine. If he doesn't wanna move in a house for $4,900, it's already on people as well.
Stacy's point, if you, the gentleman that paid 24,000, that was obviously a desirable location for him, so
Well,
he
it
paid your price.
was just with the town and the task. That's what it was, so there's two of them paid 24,000, three paid 4,000, they're all neighbors. You know, I agree, but I mean, that's, if we're talking fairness, there's no fairness.
So
Yeah.
fairness there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, not in that.
So if this guy just tells us that he's not interested in it, comes back with, well, I guess he could come back with counter offer. I like to see,
Excuse me.
I understand what you're saying, I do. But I also understand that if we're going,
Yeah.
we're sitting on it.
But we also took 9600 just recently
There
for
was,
something on Fourth Street North.
okay, that was the one that I was asking, so there's, yeah, alright,
So this is in comparison,
I was just.
and
on
this
that
might be a
side.
bigger lot.
Yeah.
Cause usually those other ones are 120, right?
They were very similar in square footage when we looked at, so that was,
Yeah.
and it was a desirable location because the buyer wanted that neighborhood,
Right,
Yeah,
right? So the desirable location is kind of based,
yeah.
when you're going into any one of those neighborhoods, it's kind of based on the,
And this
on
might
the
be
person.
desirable to a person too,
Yeah.
because you only have one neighbor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know, that's the,
desirable is-
yeah, so you don't have to worry about the second neighbor on your side who's got
right.
lots of parking opportunities, cause they can get into the back and.
Okay, I think we've talked about that quite a bit, we're kinda going in circles here now. So the resolution is to sell it for $9,900. So I know there was talk on both sides, but I think we'll just call for the question and you can vote where you feel you need to be. So, all those in favor? That's carried. The council hereby authorizes the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign the 3-year agreement between the town of Nipawin and the Nipawin Junior A Hawks Inc. for use of the Centennial and Jubilee arenas for the 2025 through 2028 hockey seasons as recommended by the GM of Leisure Services. Councillor Vic. And Chelsea's not here, Michelle, so can you speak to this?
Yeah. There was some wordsmithing in the agreement. There was an increase in the insurance requirement to $5 million versus the previous 3. The rates would remain the same for the 25-26 season, and then an increase 26-27 and 27-28. There was previously $2,500 of custom work that the town would do for the Hawks. That was included in that, and it's now an additional charge. And there has been some concern back and forth between minor hockey and the Hawks regarding patrons of the Jubilee Arena coming and accessing the canteen at the, or concession during Hawks games. And it's in the agreement now that patrons of the Jubilee are to be allowed to come into the Centennial to access the concession during games. And other than that, there's really not many changes. The Hawks are in complete agreement with it.
Thank you, Michelle. Do we have any questions or comments?
Does the rental fee cover the actual operating costs, or is there, do we know how much of a subsidy is included in there?
So I don't have that number, but it's definitely a subsidy.
I don't think there's one facility that we have
Yeah,
that pays its way.
we operate almost everything at a loss. The Evergreen, I think, is the highest at 40% of recovery, but I think they're well below that arena.
That's
28.
our selling feature.
Last time I
on
seen it.
Last time I remember it was,
Our taxes,
Sorry?
that's our selling feature on our taxes, this is what you get for taxes.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. council hereby authorizes the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign the 5-year agreement between the town of Nipawin and Nipawin Minor Hockey for use of the Centennial and Jubilee Arenas for the 2025 through 2030 hockey seasons as recommended by the GM of Leisure Services. Councilor Blair. Michelle?
And really, the only change in this one is that minor hockey has requested, the advertising rights in the Jubilee, the same as the Hawks have in the Centennial. So that would be the rink boards, the wall boards, and the ice. And Chelsea sees no harm in that. It keeps them maintained and looking good. And the rates are, they pay the rates as in our fee schedule that was approved last fall, I believe was the last approval for the fees. So they pay an hourly fees.
Thank you, Michelle. Les?
So that hourly fee that you speak of, that's going to include the RM Nipawin? Like, is this involved then?
If they have players, if there's players from the RM that play on a team, yes, then it would include residents.
The fees are set, so.
The
it's
fees
not
are
the-
set, minor hockey pays a certain amount, and then they collect whatever they collect from their players that they play at, they pay the town on as a whole.
Mhm.
Stacy?
So are you getting at, because the RM is not paid at $16,000, and
Yeah.
these people are coming in?
Yeah.
Agreed, I don't know how we go about policing that, but I don't think that if they're not gonna pay their share, that maybe there should be an example made. We may come off with bullies, but you know what, in the end, it's something that's.
Yeah, and that's one, is that minor hockey's job? No.
No, that's ours.
Yeah, so,
And we are investigating, administration are investigating different options.
Jeff?
So we could put a clause in here that states that we might review the fees for everybody outside would be a fee increase for people outside. That could be in the agreement, that way we have the ability to go back and say, like, we're gonna increase this by 10% per person, or 15 or 20
Well,
for outside.
they pay their fees based on our fee schedule, so next
That's
year we
already
could
set.
change our fee schedule, and then they're within the agreement, they pay what our fees are.
Yeah, and the second thing I had was, when we're putting up the advertising, who's putting it up? Is it the town that Flint is gonna be putting it up? Like, if they're putting up boards on the walls and everything.
I think they put them up. Derek has a lot, he has more, history
I'm more worried
behind
about
the
that.
arenas, I believe they put them up themselves.
So, we want to be managing our own buildings, so we wanna make sure they're brought up properly, not just me with a, you know, a hammer and a thing, just be going to bolt something on the wall, let's not do that.
So the town does put them up.
Okay, good.
They're supplied or whatever, and honestly, to put a wall sign up takes up like 15 seconds every
Yeah, I'm
day.
not worried about it, as long as we're.
So yeah, no, the town does all that, but the in the agreement, there's nothing to do with the fees, so they'd be adjusted as per the fee schedule. It's not even related to the
Okay,
agreement. Is
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, I just don't want random people going up and bolting things on the walls. No, okay. They'll fall over in the one.
Any other questions or comments then? Okay, all those in favor? It's carried. That council hereby authorizes the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign the 5-year agreement between the town of Nipawin and Skate Nipawin for use of the Centennial Arena for the 2025 through 2030 skating season as recommended by the GM of Leisure Services. Councilor Blair. Michelle.
And this is just a standard renewal, they pay their fees the same as the fee, based on the fee schedule, the same as minor hockey. The only thing is they haven't requested the advertising. Yeah, it's just our standard renewal.
Any questions or comments on this one? council hereby authorizes administration to enter into negotiations with Catterall and Wright for their proposal to zoning bylaw RFP 2025-016 as recommended by the land planner, and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to sign the contract of services when complete, and that funding shall come from planning and zoning purchase of capital assets account number 451610820. Councillor Bass. Michelle, did you want to speak to this, or?
Derek is ready to speak to it.
Okay.
So with this one, there was some that had more experience and whatnot, but we kind of went through it, and Catterall and Wright has done good work with us in the past. They have not been contracted through us. All of their work has been received through having the best tenders and the best proposals. They do have experience with it. They have an in-house planner. They've done the city of Moose Jaw's zoning bylaw, the town of Cornack, the city of Humboldt, so they do have a background with it, and they're more than 50% less than the other two candidates. So to us, it was a no-brainer, being that the zoning bylaw is contributed, a lot of it is put forward by administration and council to make it happen. So
Thank you, Derek. Any questions or comments?
So, administration is comfortable that the scope and quality of Cattle and Wright would be similar to the other two?
100%, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? That's carried. That the reports of committees and boards reported as item 11.1 be received and filed. Any questions on the minutes from the museum? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. That communications recorded as item 12.1 be received and filed. Councillor. Everybody's had a chance to read. It's a very short and sweet letter. I'll just echo again how much work everybody did to put together our 100th, and it's nice to see this come out of a member of the public as well. So, all those in favor? That's carried. That council hereby approves payment of accounts to August 31st, 2025. Councillor Blair. All those in favor? It's carried. Okay, next up, 14.2, we don't have a resolution, but it was brought forward for some discussion. Our fall community registration evening / open house.
Chelsea, not being here tonight, asked me to let council know that the fall community registration evening, since COVID has been, the numbers have been declining every year, and we don't have as many organizations participating. They're mostly online registrations now. We don't have as many people coming to register, and yeah, so they're not going to have it. It's typically been early in September, the first week in September. Most registrations are already closed by that point now. In the past, they used to take registrations later in the year, but now most of those are closed. So they're not going to be having the community registration evening, which we've, in the last few years, have piggybacked an open house for council, and council members have been there. Administration have provided information to the people that come. Council members are there to speak with people. So we were just wondering if you still would like to hold an open house of some kind. Would you like to wait until the strategic plan is complete and do an open house presentation of the strat plan at that time?
else just to have us there just because.
Right, if you have a subject, a topic that people are interested in, and then they'll come out, and of course, administration would have other information there as
Yeah.
well, and you can speak to
Yeah.
the people, but if there's something like the strat plan is a big project, and then you can present that, if that's,
The reason we went with the open house is because when we did run our own separate open houses, we can remember having a whole bunch of food and no one showing up, right? Delicious, mind you, but it was like 8 people that came, so it wasn't terribly effective, so that's why we piggybacked on this, and now this is starting to lose, and I agree, last time it wasn't much. So, yeah, I don't think we should be running that event. As for an open house, we need to figure out a way in which we can, if we are gonna have one, actually have one that's going to be attended, right? How are we going to get people in the door to be there, or else we're doing the same thing, we're just having us in the same room, might as well sit here and have a chat.
Well, and I think that was part of one of our presentations here, just a couple of months ago, where they said, you need to have that one thing, like not necessarily 14 or 15 projects, but have one, so our strategic plan, I think, would be the one.
And
Something.
didn't we do something at a hockey game?
the consultants
Yeah.
came, and, that was for the official community plan. They came and gathered information and did a presentation, and, yeah, we could do something similar to that. We could go where the people are, rather than asking the people to come to us.
Mm-hmm.
Makes more sense, instead of a night's game, maybe.
Well, there was complaints about that at the Hawks game, cause there's a bunch of people coming in and saying, I'm just coming to see these people.
Yeah.
But really, they were going a little
Into the
further.
hockey game.
Yes. So that ran into a problem, so.
Yeah, I don't know about doing it at a hockey game,
It could be a different event.
but
We could pick another event, there's no doubt about it, but that was brought to my attention.
Les, you got something?
I like the idea of having a strat plan or something to focus on, cause it's, hopefully it'll deter from all the other silly stuff that's going on, that we're gonna get asked the questions, and also maybe just throwing this out there for discussion, a yearly address, like an annual address from council, this is what we've done, this is what we're doing, in conjunction with the strat plan, so that we get something to focus on. Hopefully
Yeah.
bring people out.
Absolutely.
What do we have
What do
in
you
it?
have?
I was just gonna throw out there something like you could do the Hawks hotbed one, council, you know what I mean, where you had a couple
right.
guys upstairs or something, and I just use the Hawks because people do that, but maybe you put it right in the foyer in the spring or where it's not cold, or I think they're just creative ways to market people to get them to come would be a way, cause I know that's the hardest part. Nobody wants to come, and let's go to the open house and see they painted the lines this year, right? It's just one of those things. There's so much that, yeah, we see what it is, but I think it's more of maybe if we can get everybody out there to where everybody knows, or you're speaking on a certain topic, or they're putting Marlon and Joyce are there to talk about whatever, right? And you could go to different places, or that'd be something that we could come up with for marketing, but just an idea outside of it.
And we get so excited about strat plan, but I can tell you the public does not see it the exact same way that we do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, look at how great
Yeah,
this
they're
is,
not,
strat plan,
they're not
really.
looking forward to that night.
They wanna know why there isn't a stop sign over yonder, so.
Yeah, they may not necessarily wanna see the paper either. I think
Yeah.
pictures and that kind of thing is better if once you
Yeah.
have a strat plan, you can show the conceptual design.
I'd like to be your review approach.
And doing that too, because we're coming to the end of the year here, and now we're into the next budget, so how do you wanna spend our money? And that's where the strat plan comes into play, how would we spend that
Just
over
some
the
meat and
next while?
potatoes to it, like it's not
Yeah.
just.
Bricks and mortar, what do we build, what are we doing here?
Okay, well, I think, we've given you guys some information to take forward.
Yes, you have, thank you.
Okay. All right, that the regular meeting of council recess to a public hearing to hear submissions in support of or in opposition to bylaw number 1200/25, the purpose of which is to sell municipal reserve R15, plan number CG 863 at 8:29 PM. Councillor Fast. All those in favor? That's carried. As presiding officer, I hereby declare the public hearing open. This public hearing is established under the authority of section 24 of the Town of Nipawin Council Procedures Bylaw, number 1170/23. The purpose of this hearing is to hear submissions in support of or against bylaw number 1200/25, dedicated land sales bylaw. Oh, sorry. No, that's okay. I'm just a bit of a cold, I thought I was gonna cough. Bylaw number 1200/25, dedicated land sales bylaw. I would ask the chief administrative officer to introduce the matter under consideration.
And if Derek is present, Jeff didn't.
Didn't leave me nothing with that. I can look. I'll check my email again, but.
Behind
Sorry?
Oh, this is to remove the municipal tie off the land behind McDonald's, the 2 acres, from the municipal reserve, being that it's not adjacent to any properties that would require a park or a green space.
And I believe I'll just advise council that, when the advertising missed the newspaper, the deadline is so far ahead so we'll have to have another, public hearing at the next council meeting because it missed the deadline, but in the resolution from the last council meeting, we had a public hearing today, and anybody that would have been observing the meeting may not have seen the advertising, so we can do it, it's better to do it twice than to potentially miss somebody.
So council may request any further information from administration. Does anybody have anything they'd like?
I'll just add, he did send me an email. Sorry. Any of the money that would come from the sale of this land has to go back into another park or green space. It's not tied to any other land sale outside of that, so.
Stacy?
Would this land be able to be traded? For one parcel to another?
Trade it, potentially, if there's a,
Well, there's a person that I was thinking of that has the land right north of it.
there's always a potential to trade equal value and,
No, I'm just saying, cause he probably has no idea that this is happening, cause if I wasn't on council, I would have no idea that that was happening as well.
we send notice to the
Okay.
properties within a,
Okay.
yeah. But no, there's absolutely option if somebody approached council and requested a trade, that is something to definitely could be considered.
Any other information that we require? Okay. I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this matter. A second time, I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this matter. A third and final time, I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the matter. I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak against the matter. A second time, I ask if anyone wishes to speak against this matter. A third and final time, I would ask if anyone wishes to speak against this matter. I now declare the public hearing closed at 8:33 PM. That the public hearing be adjourned and the regular meeting of council resumed at 8:33 PM. Councillor Fast. All those in favor? That's carried. The council hereby appoints Clayton Meyer, VOL 332, Ryan Thiessen, BOL 555, Sheena Cartier, BOL 622, Clint Vargo, BOL 798, Kelsey Rebrina, BOL 818, Matthew Stepp, BOL 807, and Amanda Kaufman, BOL 405 of Municode Services as the building officials for the town of Nipawin. Councillor Watts. I don't think there's gonna be any questions or comments on this. All those in favor?
You look like you got a puzzled look, yes.
Too late now.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, ask a question, Les.
Oh, that's just that word. No, it's okay.
Okay. That bylaw number 1202/25 being a bylaw to incur a debt in the sum of $1,224,119.80 for the purpose of financing the cost of extending the water and sewer trunk on the south end of town at Highway 35 South be introduced and read a first time. Councillor Stewart. All those in favor? That is carried. Guess we should have read through that, I'm sorry, Michelle.
That's fine, that's okay.
Yeah, we got a few more yet. That bylaw number 1202/25 being a bylaw to incur a debt in the sum of $1,224,119.80 for the purpose of financing the cost of extending the water and sewer trunk on the south end of town at Highway 35 South be read a second time. Councillor Watts. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead. I'll let you.
No, I was just going to advise everybody that this is just the final step. We've had the SMB approval, they've issued that, and now this is just the final step in that forward.
Any questions or comments on the second reading? All those in favor? That's carried. That bylaw number 1202/25 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Councillor Newberg. All those in favor? That's carried. That bylaw number 1202/25 being a bylaw to incur a debt in the sum of $1,224,119.80 for the purpose of financing the cost of extending the water and sewer trunk on the south end of town at Highway 35 South be read a third time and finally adopted. Councillor Watts. So, last opportunity, do you have any questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Alright, now on to some of the fun stuff, the round table. Jeff, why don't we start with you today?
Oh, good. Well, there's been all those, we can all say thank yous for the amazing celebration. And all that, I think those have been said, but just to reiterate again, all I had was the Twin Lakes meeting on the 16th. And that was pretty uneventful, to be honest. A lot, they were really happy that the report's all done and stamps on it and everything. We've got requests to do other projects and we're like, nope, we're at the moment. I think we've tapped out that group a bit, we're a little bit all burned out after that, but it's good. After that, I've taken 2 weeks off here and tried to turn my brain off from everything, and I was relatively successful, so that's still turn the parts of it back on, I'll just say. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Joyce?
Like Jeff, I attended the Twin Lakes, meeting on the 16th. been vacationing for a couple weeks and got the opportunity to officiate my sister and her new husband on Saturday in a dual wedding, and that was quite the challenge to orchestrate that, but we got it all done and I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Joyce. Lisa?
Things have been pretty quiet for me as well this summer. I did attend the special meeting of council on July 23rd via teleconference. But I did want to give a big shout out to two of our local athletes, Nick Peterson and Anson Croker from the Nipmuc Giants. They joined forces with players from across the Northeast to form the Pasqua Angels senior men's ball team, and together they brought home the senior AA Tier 4 provincial championships with a huge win over Rosetown in the golden medal game. So congratulations to Nick and Anson and the other members of the team. I think it'll play well for the Giants for next season. So.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Kylie?
I haven't been up to too much, just working. I did meet with Chelsea in the morning last week to meet with the judges for Communities in Bloom. So I did spend about 40 minutes with them, but I wasn't able to go on the tour because I had to go back to work. But it was nice to meet them, and Chelsea had a lot of really good points and talks and really talked our town up very, very well, and it sounded like they were going to have a really good tour after. So that's about all.
Thank you. And Les?
Yeah, same with me, just taking a holiday.
Absolutely. Thank you, Les. And Stacy?
Well, there's been no park meetings because they did the same as council, except there is only one, so they said that there wasn't gonna be one for 2 months. Other than that, I'm busy working and getting prepared for my daughter's wedding weekend.
Oh, perfect. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Here?
Saskatoon.
Congratulations.
So myself, I did some volunteering actually at the fair with the Citizens on Patrol. I went and helped put wristbands on kids so they didn't disappear, and if they did, they'd have a phone number. So always a good program. I enjoy helping them out there. I attended the special meeting of council on the 23rd, and other than that, watched the boat parade. A few of the boats go by, and went down and brought welcome at the Premier's Walleye Cup. And congratulations to the winners there. The new catch photo release program, I think, went very well. We'll see. Almost broke 100 pounds in its first year. Everybody figured it was going to take 90 pounds to win. It took 98 pounds to win. And yes, the first place team, 18 years old and 15 years old. Just absolutely phenomenal.
Tempting there.
Yeah, they did very well. So congratulations to them. Other than that, it's been relatively quiet for myself as well. So, and public forum is, you can see, very busy. So we'll continue on. That the regular meeting of council of August 11th, 2025 be closed with Mayor Zacharias in the chair pursuant to section 122A of the Municipalities Act and citing exemptions contained in the Local Authority Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act under section 16, advice from officials, and section 17, economic and other interests, at 8:43 p.m. Councillor Fast. All those in favor?